everybody. Welcome to another episode of She Social Podcast. My name is Ms. Cosmo. Thank you so much for joining me yet again to get involved with the conversations and just to, hear what the women have to say. So I do have two extraordinary women in the show for today. I do have Spoken Priestess, who's going to be chatting to us about everything from her media life that she's been involved in, but also over and above that, I am going to be chatting to Berita a little bit later on as well, just speaking to her about her music, her journey, and of course, just being in a COVID world. All right, so my first guest for today is Spoken Priestess. Hey, girl.
It's Miss Cosmo. I've always wanted to say that.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm good, and you?
I'm fine, trying to survive, trying to work within this new world that we're in, because COVID has definitely kind of put a kink in our step, has changed the direction. But we're trying to innovate and we're trying to move. How are you doing, Spoken Priestess?
I know exactly what you mean. I'm good. Like I'm good. I'm good. I'm really good. I'm happy. Good job. I'm surviving, staying afloat.
You are surviving, and that's one thing that I've always loved about your spirit. You've always been so optimistic. You've always been so out there. You've always looked at the brighter picture of every situation that you found yourself in. But just for those people who don't necessarily know who you are, can you give us just a brief background as to who this beautiful lady that I'm speaking to is?
So my name is Spoken Priestess. Formerly the Spoken Priestess of hip hop, because a lot of people know me as a hip hop head. I started out in radio and then went online, digital, doing a lot of content in the hip hop space, commentating, being a radio host. And now I'm a DJ, an Afrobeats DJ, which everyone is like, wait, what? So yeah, that's who I am. I've got about 10 years in the game now, but I'm starting over as a DJ. So yeah, that's where I am now.
Yes, you've definitely been involved in a lot of things with regards to the entertainment industry. And that's also why I wanted to kind of chat to you about your journey, but also what is next for Spoken Priestess, because you seem to be dabbling in different spaces. So the first time that you and I had interacted was when you had called me in for an interview on your radio show that you had on UJFM. That was years back, 16 bars. And later it became 16 bars reloaded. And then you left the radio space. Why? Because when I used to listen to you, and especially even after that interview, I was blown away by how amazing you were as a broadcaster.
Wow, I didn't know that. Thank you so much. I only find out later that people actually used to listen to me. I think I got to a point where what I was doing didn't make sense. I like to be happy in the spaces that I'm in. And when I left radio in 2017, by that time I was in Trans Africa Radio, there was just a lot happening in my world where I didn't have time for myself, and I felt like I was overwhelmed and I needed to cut a few things out. And at the time, going on air was so difficult. It was a lot of work. I had to pull a lot out of myself to do a show. And that's when I knew that it doesn't feel right. I was like, no, I don't want to do radio like this. I want to do radio the way I know it. I want to give myself to it. And I was like, I didn't want to have a toxic relationship with radio's my first love. So I was like, nah, babe, I'll see you later. We need time apart.
Yes.
So yeah, that's why I went off air, man. It just a lot was happening, and I actually did not have space for radio. And so the way I was on air, my relationship with radio and my shows was just strenuous, and I don't like feeling like that. So I chopped off the radio part for a bit.
Sure, that's a heavy decision to make, especially for something that's your first love, because for you to actually identify that there's a problem and then further go forth and say, okay, we need to chop it out so that we can fix myself before I can then get back into the media space. Clearly a very hard decision to make, but it seems to be serving you very well, because you seem a little bit more in tune with who you are and in a much better spirit post the radio, even though some of us do miss you on the airwaves.
Yeah. I definitely have grown. I have grown. I think, also after leaving Slicker on Live, I think just, removing myself from the way I've been interacting with the industry for the past years has done me a lot of good, because now I'm sitting here, there's nothing in front of me, and I'm like, okay, so what now? Like, what to do? I'm no longer writing about people. I'm no longer plugging people. I'm no longer on air. Like, it's just me. Like, what now? And obviously I learned how to DJ, but it was not always the plan. And I was like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to focus on this. This is what I'm going to do. This is what I want to do. And it kind of gave me a leeway, like an escape to say, I'm going this side now. So, yeah.
100%. So just kind of backtracking a little bit, you mentioned that you were working on Slicker on Life in the digital media space. What is it exactly that you were focusing on? Because I know you would call people all the time to kind of get some content here and there, but what was your actual purpose when you were working with him? And did you feel as though you achieved something for yourself while working in that space?
Definitely. Slicker on Life, when I got to Slicker on Life, it was a moment that everything I had done before Slick on Life came together. Like, I had done everything. I had done radio. I had done, PR for artists, media liaising. I directed music videos. So all of that skill that I acquired helped me to do what I did at Slick on Life. I was their content manager for about 2.5 years, close to 3 years. And I essentially gave the platform a face beat. That's how I describe it. I came in, Tando was there at the time. She was, leading the content. I was working with her to kind of like, she taught me how to, okay, this is what we do. We update stories every, okay, cool, got it. And then Tando left, and it was like, oh, snap, so now we have to, we need to do the content. This is how it's done. And I just had to, run with it. It was so natural to me. I've always been listening to people's music. I've always been, writing, commentating. I'm that guy. And so we had to, came up with a structure for the website, cleaned it up a little bit. We're going to do this and that. We're going to do on the ground. We're going to do, balcony interview. Now we're starting to have segments. Now we're starting to build the site into different kind of pillars. Now we're having the spotlight. Now we're having the red couch. So yeah, it was quite interesting managing the content daily, what goes out, what stories are hot, and it helps that I had relationships with the artists, because I could just be like, hey, let's go. So tell me about that song again. Then I get to tell, we get the in, and that's basically what I did at Second Life.
Yeah, I think it's a great thing that you had those relationships, because you built them through the radio show and were able to then kind of bring that into the digital space as well. And a lot of the artists, like you mentioned, were in the hip hop space. Why did you get into hip hop specifically when you came into the game? Because getting a radio show, especially a music related radio show, speaks to you as a person and what you chime into. So what was it about hip hop that spoke to you?
I've always loved hip hop, Miss Cosmo. Like, yeah, like Kiliniga, Like, since high school days, I was in the dance scene. I don't know if you know about the scene here in Pretoria State Theatre. After school, we were having ciphers there, but it was going down, dance battles. I was in a dance crew at some point. Oh, hi guys. I'm telling you. Remember the days of Masters of Rhythm? Like, that's when we were like, yeah, Masters of Rhythm. We're going in, bruh. I'm telling you. So I've always been in hip hop. And when I joined radio, I found that was 2008, 2009. That's when Cooley was coming out. That's when JR was coming out. Tear Gas was also doing the thing, and I was like, yeah, these are my people, And I think, the music always leads me. Like, hip hop just made me that girl. Like, I was drawn closer to hip hop, and I found myself, advocating more for SA hip hop. Because another thing is, at the time, 2008, 2009, 2010, that's when local hip hop was like, had a really South African sound. Like, it was Tear Gas, Kulichana, Morafe Times, it was Zulu Boy, it was 3 Months Cap, like the sound was very, yes, I resonate with these people. So that's also another thing that kind of drew me to hip hop. And yeah, I guess I just ran with it. I made the relationships, I contacted the artists, please can I interview you? And then things started growing like that.
And of course, hip hop also then showed its love back, because you got that little thing that's sitting there behind you, that nice little award that's saying, hey, we love you too, girl. Tell us about how it felt winning that award.
By the way. So this is the South African Hip Hop Award for Best Hip Hop Radio Show 2014. That was a dope year, man. Like you said, it was 16 bars and then 16 bars reloaded. So I had taken a gap year from varsity, and then I came back in 2013, 2014, and then that's when it was 16 bars reloaded. I guess we're back. We're doing it different. We're doing the most now, and I won't lie, like, I was fighting. Like, I was, my content was on point. I was in it. I was really in it. I was enjoying it. And yeah, it was a dope year. Like that, when we got nominated, we're like, oh, okay. And then we ran for the votes. We're like, vote, guys, vote.
Yes.
And everybody agreed that, you know what, you guys actually did the things this year. Like, we saw you guys came with the noise. And we also had a music conference, Music Unscripted, where we were like, okay, cool. I see the game, but you guys don't know how to submit your music. You don't even know what Tamro is. You don't have RISA codes. Like, you're not censoring your music. Guys, come on. So then we started a music conference. I think at that time, especially when we got the award, it was really just, a thing to say, we see what you're doing in the game. We're seeing you. And you know what? You deserve this. It makes sense. So yeah, it's a really nice reminder.
It definitely did make sense, especially at the time when you did win the award, because like you're mentioning, a lot of work had been put in from a content perspective for your radio show, but also starting an event, speaking to the radio show that you had created, Music Unscripted. Yeah. Just tell us a bit more about the conference, and why did you end up stopping? Because people still need the information.
I actually haven't stopped. It's just COVID day. Like, we were supposed to have one in June and July. We're planning to have one in Nelspruit in May as well. Hi, man. Coco V was like, but where? What time? So now I'm sitting here like, yeah, hey. And I know we could have it digitally, but I'm still trying to figure it out. Like, I want to make it meaningful. Like, we're all doing digital, information exchanges, but I want to attach something to it. So I've been thinking of how can I make a fund for artists to tap into. The people haven't been gigging. So what can I do, with Music Unscripted to just give back? Because usually people pay 50 Rand at the door, 100 Rand at the door. This time I'm not going to charge people to have a digital conference, but what can I do with money so that the money gets exchanged to something else? So I'm still trying to figure that out. And we probably will have one before the end of the year. So I haven't stopped. It has slowed down. We used to have two twice a month, but wow, like 2020, excuse me, 2020 is just another, yeah.
So it came Namawaza. It came with the...
I'm still figuring it out.
Speaking to 2020 coming with Amawaza, you also then, like you mentioned, have become a DJ. So now you're no longer just a supporter of the artist. You became an artist yourself, where you wanted to get into this thing and also just be involved within the music space. And you are DJing Afro beats, but obviously now COVID has also come in and said, wait a second, you can't gig, you can't be the artist you want to be.
It's weird, bruh.
How was that kind of changed your thinking with regards to the next step for Spokenpriestess?
Firstly, I had to think about whether I actually want to do this, I was like, okay, I want to gig doll. It was nice because I get dressed up for my gigs. Hey, I'm here, like, colorful, yes, we're going. Now I'm in the house, do people care about my music? Do they want to hear my sets? Like, does it matter right now? And what am I going to do after, like, what now? So what it has done, though, what I started doing beginning of the year is I started hustling radio stations for them to play my mix. So that kind of gave me strength. I was like, okay, I've got this going on. Let me push that. So I've been on air since February every single week, nonstop. I've been on air with a mix, and that's kind of been my hustle for 2020 because we can't go out. So, but you know what? Catch me on Trans Africa Radio, catch me on FM, catch me on Kai FM, so that's kind of been my little swing for, okay, we can't go out, but keep busy. Like, I'm working as well. Also keep me going to just keep up with the music, practicing in the house. So what I've been up to is just, hustling to get my name out there, because another thing is I'm new. Like, nobody knows me, you know. People still need to know that I'm an Afrobeat DJ, number one. People still then have to be like, oh, is Spoken Priestess. Like, there's so much work. Like, I have to get it. Like, hey, I'm a DJ. I'm a DJ. I'm serious about it. Like, I'm serious about it. So I still have to do all that brand work.
Yeah.
And I couldn't afford to just be quiet, you know. So radio was the next best option for me to be like, no, play my mixes every week. I'll supply you with mixes. And it's been going really well. People kind of already know to catch me, you know, on Trans Africa Radio now, every Monday at 10:30. And I'm going to be writing that for the rest of the year, and also donating mixes to every other radio station every now and then. So that's what I've been up to, man. May was really big because Africa month, you know, same was the group. So, hey, May, we were, you know, May Nikki Giga. That was really nice. So I think it's moments like that that shows you that, okay, if you just keep going, if you just keep, you know, being consistent and just keep doing it, even if it feels like no one is listening or no one is watching, just keep doing it and you get spikes. Like, you get moments where people are like, oh, let's call that girl that plays African music. Oh, it's Women's Month. Let's also get that other girl that plays African music. So, yeah, so I've just been on the radio.
Yeah, speaking to that, I mean, obviously you had your love for hip hop and you had kind of created a bit of a brand around hip hop, but then when you became a DJ, you chose to go the Afrobeats direction. What kind of prompted you to kind of go for Afrobeats as opposed to becoming a hip hop DJ?
Again, the music chose me. Like, me, when I went to the institute, I was there like, yeah, I can't hip hop fair. And then the music was like, where my sister? Like, it just wasn't coming together, you know. I didn't, like, my playlist was not working. You know how hip hop is. Like, another song is 150, another one is 70, 60. Like, and I wasn't coming together with the set, and it was frustrating. And then I looked through my music library. I was like, oh, give up with Davido. Okay, let me at least practice. And they were like coming in a line. They were making sense. They were coming together. I was like, okay. And then I practiced with Afrobeats. I never went back to hip hop.
You got dumb
The Afrobeat was going, and I'm like, okay, I get it. I'm playing with the CDJs. I'm like, okay, you know what? Actually, I got one second half, guys. Played my Afrobeats, and yeah. So the music again chose me, led me to this side. I actually was going to play hip hop, but I ended up playing Afrobeats faster, better than I was with hip hop. And at the time, it was it was stagnating me in terms of my progress, because you get 10 lessons, like whether you catch it or not, you're gonna have to come again for another 10. So the quicker I was catching what I was doing, the better. So yeah.
Wow, and we got dumped just like that. Woo, fresh. Anyway.
I'm still here. You guys are still calling me. I'm still hustling for you guys. I'm here in the background.
I hear you. I see you, girl. Definitely. I mean, you've been putting in a lot of work, and now that you've kind of transcended yourself from radio to PR to digital space content creation, now becoming a DJ, you've now become a music producer. You just recently released a single with some fire women on that tune. Tamasha's out there, Moosli's out there. You've also got some ladies from different African countries as well. Tell us a little bit about your first single and how it feels to release a song.
It feels very stressful. It feels very stressful. Why didn't you tell me? Like,
why do you think it took me so long? Why do you think it took me so long to release a song? It's not Papa Choice that thing.
Fresh. I see where you're going. Don't do that. Don't do it. Don't go. It feels really good. It's challenging, and I find that I like challenges. I strive on challenges. I think, yeah, like, if anything I've learned about myself this year is I strive on challenges and figuring things out. Like, because we were not doing much this year, like, I spend a lot of time figuring things out. If it's how to, you know, do videos, how to do live streams, like, I've been learning a lot of things, YouTube, figuring things out, right? So this feels really good. It's pushing my limits. Again, I'm at a moment where everything that I've done, all the skills that I've acquired over the years are being tested with the song. Oh, Sisi, you're a media liaison, you've done PR. Let's see PR for your song. you've done promotion strategies, you've done digital and social media content, blah, blah. Let's see it for your song. Or, people in radio, let's see if they'll play your song, So it's a really nice guinea pig to see what am I able to do? How can I stretch myself? My own contacts, how am I able to use my contacts? I'm back in the game now, like hustling, but for myself, and I prefer to do it this way because it would be the easy thing to just call, a Khadi or a Melanie or Sheila or, all of them and be like, hi, please, can you, but I think it's just important for me to get my groundwork done, to also like knock in the door so that people know the person that's knocking, to say, this girl's been hustling us, so that when they see me in a later stage or somewhere else, they can, it's always better. It works better. If I submit another song now, they know, they're like, okay, is that chick from last time? So it's just doing the groundwork. It feels really good. Going back to the song, I got called by Young Verbal from South African Zambian artist, and he was like, look, I've got a song, do you want to remix it? Maybe you can get some people on it. It could be fun, do your thing. And I was like, okay. Obviously, I called girls. That's just how I am. Like, I was like, no, I'm going to call the girls. That's the first thing I did. And I was like, I want girls to, let me see if I can get like girls from different countries of the continent. Because I like doing that. I find myself trying to do like, international kind of relations, because that's my vibe, and that's what I am right lately. I just find myself being that guy. So I was like, no, let's do it like that. And I called up Crystal. I didn't know her, she didn't know me. I DM'd her. I was like, hi, I've got a song. Please, can you be on it? The idea is to have women from all over Africa. It's a feel-good song, and yeah, it's just, vibes. And she was like, okay, send me the song, I'll listen to it. And then I got Flo as well. Yeah. I know Flo from the hip-hop industry. Like, I used to play her music back in the days, but we don't know each other either. I was like, I knocked as well. Hello, I've got a song. The idea is to have Kenyan. I sold them the African. I was like, the African dream. I was like, okay, Kenyan girls, Nigerian girls, South African girls. Let's make it like a, African type of song. Same thing with Lioness. Actually, the only people that I know on the song, like kind of know them, is Tamasha and Muzi. Everyone else, I don't know them before I had to ask them, personally, to say, can you be on my song? And they came through for me. Like, that's why I love girls. Like, you call a girl, she will come through for you. Like, they're coming through for me like my sisters. They showed up. Lioness dropped her verse. Flo dropped her verse. Yeah, it was lit. So, the song came together since February. It's August now. Yeah, it was a lot of work. Because they're in different countries.
Yes.
Then we had lockdown, and then some of the girls couldn't get into studio. Oh my goodness. Then our producer in Zambia had power cuts. It was a lot. It was a lot of work. So we figured it out. So yeah.
And amazingly so, because the song is amazing and it's so powerful, and it's great that it came through also in Women's Month. You timed it very well so that at least people could also give it the attention that it deserved. I just wanted to give you a bit of a shout out with regards to that as well. I think your story has been impeccable. I think there's still so much more that we can look forward to when it comes to Spoken Priestess. And I think we are going to definitely support you 100%, because you have so much drive and so much energy and so much optimism for this game that it needs to basically shine back on you. And these little things, these small little victories are those things that are basically going to, show you that you're headed in the right direction. I just want to thank you for joining me so much on She Social Podcast, just for this small conversation. And of course, we're going to keep in touch, and we're going to bring you back, and we'll chat more as things kind of progress and you see what else you're getting yourself into. Because clearly, maybe by next year, you'll be a tennis player. We don't know, because, you keep changing.
Nah, you can't trust me. Tomorrow I'll be acting, you don't know, bruh.
Exactly. Next year we'll see you on Komora. We don't know. So we'll just touch base again, and we'll keep on following your journey. Where can people follow you on social media?
Firstly, thank you so much for bringing me on this platform, and congratulations. I love the show. I love to see the progression. Like I remember coming to the first She Social in Bram, and I was like, this is a vibe. And I was actually working. I came to interview the girls.
Yeah.
So shout out now it being She Social podcast. I love watching the shows. I learn a lot. Loved Muesli's one. Loved Busiso's one. Like, yeah. So shout out to you. Thank you so much for the platform. And people can catch me Spoken Priestess everywhere. Like it's the same everywhere. Instagram, Twitter. My mixes are available on Apple Podcasts and SoundCloud, so you guys can check them out there as well. But my song, okay,
Yes.
link in bio. Link in bio.
Link in bio.
Bio. I can finally say that. Link in bio, okay? Get my song, Rotation She Mix, featuring Lioness from Namibia, Crystal Asige from Kenya, Flo from Nigeria, Tamasha and Muesli from South Africa, in collaboration with South African Zambian artist Young Verbal. I want to international, Mara, Miss Cosby. Come on, you know.
I can see
And
your
now
vibe.
you're singing. Now you're singing. It's time maybe for you also to come on my next song, girl.
Anyway, thanks, Precious. It's been great. You're asking very difficult questions that can't be answered right now. But what we can do is thank you for your time, and we can say we will definitely be checking out the link in your bio. And yeah, man, all the best for the future.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for watching, whoever you are.
Big love to Spoken Priestess for joining me today on the She Social podcast. We are going to make our way to my second guest for today, Berita Spokenpriestess. Hey, what's up, everybody? So we are back, and we do have my second guest for today on the She Social podcast. I do have the beautiful Berita, who's going to be chatting to me about her music. Hey, girl.
Hi.
Are you good?
I'm well. Wena?
I'm fine. I think everybody is basically just trying to, find their feet, trying to see how we're moving around, especially because now we're on level 2. Things are a little bit, different. Things are a little bit easier for us to kind of move around. How has lockdown been for you as an artist as well as a person? Because obviously in the beginning it was completely shut down, but now things are starting to ease up a bit.
Yeah. As a person, I guess the lockdown, I can say, has been bittersweet. Obviously as an artist, there's the downside of not being able to make income from live performances, not being able to pay my team as well. I think right now I'm literally down to one team member that I work with on a daily.
Wow.
And I'm still grateful that at least I can afford to pay her and pay myself, but, having to let go of people and having to, know that freelancers that work with me, be it it's musicians, be it it's my PR lady or graphics or anyone else, can't make an income for themselves. That's been the most difficult part.
Yeah, it is very difficult financially, I think, for a lot of people. But I do think it's also been a very good space for artists in general, just for us to kind of zone in and get into like a place where we can just focus on just the music. Because we're always on a go, we're always running, we're always traveling, we're always trying to go somewhere else. How has that been for you musically? Obviously you had been working on other things, your music, or your song Jiggy Zinto dropped in February, as you mentioned, but other things, obviously still being in studio, being able to work on new songs, has that been beneficial in that perspective?
I definitely have enjoyed the time to myself. I think it's brought a lot of clarity, more than, I think that's the first thing, that clarity of what is important.
Yeah.
So for me, I had just gotten off studio. Luckily, I released my album Songs in the Key of Love and the leading single in February. And like from a consumption point of view, my music streaming has done really well because people were able to listen to the music. Chigizindo went number 1 on radio during the lockdown. So I did have some movement. I wasn't completely quiet. At home, I spent a lot more time working on my vocals, working on my guitar. I picked up a new instrument. I actually have started learning how to play piano so that I can produce better.
Yeah. Okay, so now no longer on the guitar. Now we're gonna see you, playing some chords,
Berita keys.
Maybe you're gonna be a one-man band. You're gonna pick up the guitar halfway through the song, you put it down, and then you say, okay, let me get to the keys. Okay, here's the next part of the performance.
Yeah. So that's been a joy. Yeah.
That's good, because you're also taking the opportunity just to kind of upskill yourself to also see how you can take your brand and your career and your music further. I do want to just take a little bit of a step back as well and just get to know Berita, the person, just a little bit more. You as a young girl, did you always know that you wanted to get into music? Did you always know you had a voice? Was it something that you knew, me, I'm going to be an artist no matter what?
Yeah. Surprisingly, no. I actually loved school. I was a scholar. Actually, I'm the firstborn ekaya, so I have a tendency to want to please people, especially my parents. So school was the best way to do that, and I did really well throughout, like primary school, high school. I actually graduated with cum laude in accounting.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know? So music came later. I remember being a child. I remember the experience of holidays when Brenda Fassie had a new song. I remember that excitement when Babu Oliver Mtukudzi, because I'm originally from Zimbabwe. I was born there and I grew up there. So the excitement when there's a new Mafiki Zolo this December, and I always used to be invited to a lot of weddings, you know, to like join the bridal team. So, you know, dancing to a new step, to a new song that's hot right now, that's, you know, there's nothing quite like that.
Yes.
So, but I never knew that it meant that I had like a deep love for music. Yes. When I was 16, because of the economical situation in Zim and the political situation, my parents moved with the whole family to New Zealand in search of greener pastures. And when we moved there, that was the first time that I was removed from my society, my friends, familiarity, my grandmother who had raised me growing up. And that's when I really started to turn into music for identity, as to Ndingubani Mna. And then that's when I discovered, you know, like Afro soul singers. I discovered Lira, Thandiswa Mazwai, Jill Scott, you know, in a broader, you know, like space. I discovered women that knew who they were and were expressing through music. And that's when I was like, those are my sisters. That's what I want to do.
Yes. I was actually just about to ask that, to say, how did you actually figure out which genre you wanted to get into? Because I know a lot of the time when people are singing, they look at people like Beyonce. They look at, you know, people who have basically shot to the top of the pop charts. But you decided, no, I'm going to bring it back home and be proudly African. Has that always been something special for you and something that you've always wanted to push, especially with the music that you put out?
So now that I'm older and I've been making music for some time, I've always wanted to ask myself, what is it about my music that people love? What is it about my music that makes me make the music that I make? And I recently found it. All this time I didn't know. I remember I would get people saying, "But yo, your music is so calming," or like, "I just feel at peace when I listen to you." Like, ngathi kuyathuleka. And I recently realized that I also gravitate towards music that is healing, that touches the soul, maphakathi. And also, I've always wanted to project to the world, you know, I've projected myself as a proud African woman who is proud in my own skin and in my own shade of Black and African.
Ah, that's beautiful, man. And of course, just to kind of encapsulate that into your entire brand just makes it all the more better, because we also get to connect with ourselves through your music. And I think that's the beauty of it as well. All right. So obviously, like I mentioned, in times like these, things are a little bit turbulent because of lockdown. And obviously, you said, luckily, you had obviously dropped your album and the singles in the beginning of the year. But you dropped your video for Jiggy Zinto just about a month ago. When exactly did you shoot the video? Because I think just after the song dropped, that's when everything closed down. So was it difficult for you to kind of get that shoot together?
It was very difficult. When Jiggy Zinto came out, the idea was really to shoot a song in a community space. I remember we wanted to shoot it in 3 different provinces. Our initial, what's it called? treatment. Our initial music video treatment meant that we had, like shots in Cape Town, in the Eastern Cape, and in Joburg. We really wanted the song to be big, and because La Jikizinto, the chorus is a very common, it's a chorus that's taken off a very common song in Xhosa. We wanted community, abantu kugcwale, bonakale, kusemcimbini. But when lockdown hit, I was just like, I was like,
why?
We went from that treatment to having an animation treatment where we were going to do an animated video, to then deciding to our budgets as well, because also the budgets, as soon as you can't perform live, you can't have like the kind of budgets that you would want. So we then looked at the most minimalistic and contained way to do it, and that was to go via green screen in a studio. And shout out to my manager Eric, and also Onka at Wow Factory, we were able to pull it off.
Hey, welcome to the 21st century, Michael, because now we can't go back to the hood and say, okay, let's just shoot here on the streets, it's Pelindabeni. Now we have to add more budget, we have to do bigger things, and things like green screens are not cheap. I think people also need to remember that when you're involving technology in your brand, it means you're spending way more money, and you're just taking things a little bit further. But shout outs to you for being able to manage that, because I think a lot of people had put their plans on hold, and you were like, nope, I'm going to find a way, we're going to work around this, we're going to make sure that the video is out, and it's a beautiful video at that.
It was crazy. I can tell you, Miss Cosmo, I remember talking to my manager saying, if we do this video now, it means that I don't know how you're going to pay your rent, but just give me a week, I'll figure it out. And like, my manager was like, you know what, let's do it. And I tell you, we did it. Next week, I think they called us, they said they wanted us to do something for like Africa Day, and gave us a full fee. And then things were back to normal.
You're like, yes, there you go.
It's not, like, I think a lot of people have seen my brand grow in the past 2 years, ever since I went independent.
Yeah.
But I always just want to say, it's not easy. It's not as, glam as it looks.
Yeah. But it's all about making sure that you show up and you make and the show must go on.
Yeah.
Talking about technology and doing things in a different way in 2020, we've also found that certain traditions have had to be changed. And I'm talking to the fact that you and your husband have recently announced on social media that you concluded lobola via Zoom.
Yeah.
The same way me and you are having this interview via Zoom. You went the extra mile and said, no matter what, we are concluding these negotiations, and if we need to do it via technology, we're going to do it. So how did that process kind of come together for the families? Because I'm sure that was something completely new, especially for old people, because they just don't understand this thing of internet and what.
Yeah, you're completely a new normal. So me and my husband spoke, he first expressed last year, I think around this time, that he wanted to settle down and like
and put a ring on it.
Apple of his eye. He wanted to put a ring on it last year. But obviously my parents still live overseas. They still live in New Zealand. So the plan was, my parents normally take a month off in June and come home. So the plan was, okay, when they come home, that's when we're gonna then begin the lobola proceedings and all that stuff. So everything was set for that. And then lockdown happens. After lockdown happens, we look at each other and we're like, huh? I think it was even funny because I think the first 30 days of lockdown, Home Affairs was shut as well. Ooh. So we're like, what does this mean? But I think lockdown was perfect, because then I really got to realize that actually this person that I want to spend the rest of my life with is the one. Because we were getting along like a house on fire, even in lockdown, where I know that a lot of relationships and entanglements came tangling down. And then actually he then expressed to me that, you know what, I spoke to my parents and they said, let's not wait. Please ask, your people if it's okay that we look at doing things the technological way. And then I had to ask my parents. My parents were like, okay. then his parents had to send a formal email.
Wow, as the letter. So, but
As a letter.
as an email. Ah.
Yeah. So, then they had to obviously set up the date. My grandmother who's in Zim, who, all along has only now just learned how to use WhatsApp video, called me and said, I also want to be in this Zoom. I'm getting this Zoom. So it was, I guess, a beautiful experience for the whole family, because it was a moment for, us as families to say, you know what, we're in this together. And let's make things happen. I remember on the day of lobola, I was in charge of my family, and Nhlamulo was in charge of his side of the family. So like when there were breakaway sessions or whatever, I remember I kept talking to my side of the family and saying, don't embarrass me with technology.
Please.
Please,
don't
guys.
press the wrong buttons. Please.
Don't press the wrong button. Don't mute when you're talking.
Oh man, but that's beautiful, because I'm glad that they came to the party and they were all involved, and they were accepting of the new normal that was coming to it, and I'm glad you could also include other people. Like you mentioned, your grandmother was still involved in the call even though she's in another country. So I guess that's the beauty of the internet, is that we're able to still connect even though we are in different parts of the world. So congratulations to you and Nhlamulo, and I really hope that you have a beautiful marriage going forward. And I think you being such a musical power couple is also going to help you and grow yourself as a brand as well, and see how you can kind of take things to new heights, eh?
Yeah, thank you. I don't look at it that way. I think for me, what I love is that I'm with someone who loves music and loves the music industry. And he's outwardly passionate about it, because like, obviously he's in hip hop and he makes his views known. I'm inwardly passionate about it. So I think that for me, what's really beautiful is to be in a space where I don't need to explain myself too much about stuff. And I've got a partner that's always like, shoot that video, do it, come on, do the next thing, do it, So he's
always pushing you to be better and to try new things, which is good. It clearly shows that the opposites attract, and that's why the two of you work so well together. Speaking to the fact that you mentioned that you're from Zimbabwe and your grandmother is still living out there. Obviously, we've been seeing all of the social media posts and all the outcry with regards to Zimbabwean Lives Matter, and how the situation there hasn't necessarily changed. How has that affected you personally, and also affected your music with regards to just the outcry that's happening back at home? And how are you hoping that things are going to change to a better position?
Sure. Growing up in Zimbabwe was not easy. I think that I'm part of the generation that saw the potential Zimbabwe had and what it's become, and I'm also part of the generation that wants to be a part of the solution of Zimbabwe. So I'm 29 now. I left Zim when I was 16 years old. And for many years, you must understand, as a Zimbabwean, when you're not allowed to just talk about the political situation, growing up, even at home, there were two things. You can't talk about politics, you can't talk about religion, But now I'm telling you, I know you guys, and I've since learned this as well from my partner, that the difference between Zimbabweans and South Africans is that you guys, you had to be vocal during the apartheid. Yabo? So you guys are a very vocal people, and nilo manje, nikumisa manje. Whereas with us Zimbabweans, we are people that like we will sit on things. So for many years, for almost 40 years now, Zimbabwean people have been resilient. They have just sat and watched their country diminished. And it's a time now where, for the first time last month, when Zimbabwean Lives Matter trended, I actually posted about it and expressed, how I feel as someone that left home when I was 16 And I go home all the time, especially now that I'm back. I've lived the past 9 years here in South Africa. So that's afforded me the opportunity to always be close to home and to see that things are not changing, to see that, the leadership, the governance, the social injustices there hasn't been movement, there hasn't been change. And I think for me, what's starting to happen is I'm starting to realize that this is not just a Zimbabwean story, this is an African story.
Yes.
I'm seeing what happened in Zimbabwe. I'm seeing traces of it here in South Africa. And 2 years ago, I toured Eastern and Southern Africa. And in each country that I was in, I saw traces of this. So as an artist, I can tell you that I'm really moved, and I'm in the process of planning a project just to address that.
Yes, and I think you definitely need to get a lot of support, especially from South African artists, just to show the unity that not everybody is xenophobic, number one, but we are in support of Zimbabwean lives. And of course, the outcry is going to be heard. And do you feel that the messages that are coming through on social media are being heard by Zimbabwean nationals in support of their cause?
To be quite honest, I'm grateful to South Africa and I'm grateful to South Africans. If you think about it, there's at least 2 million Zimbabweans in this country. Yes, there's been xenophobic outcries, and those are very valid because nalapa amathuba awekho, employment incinci, and siyabona, I see, South Africans struggling in their own country, and that breaks my heart. And I always look at the situation and say that there's more good than bad that South Africans have done in support for Zimbabweans. And Zimbabweans know this as well.
That's so true. That's so true.
Yeah.
But hopefully, like you said, you are putting something together and we can definitely support you in any way that you need. Just obviously raise your voice and we'll be behind you 100%. Something that you also did recently, speaking to technology, was you had a live stream concert a few weeks ago. How did that come together for you? Because again, you're now in a new normal. You're having to put on a performance where there's no crowd. You're having to perform and just say, okay, there's the camera. Let's rock. Was that a new experience for you?
It was. And these live stream performances have been bittersweet. I've done a number of them. This one was the first one that was my actual own with my band. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed connecting with my band. The chemistry was amazing. I also enjoyed as well that for the first time, I do have a fan base that's in the diaspora, in the UK, in Australia, in New Zealand, in the US. And for the first time, most of my fans that are outside of South Africa were also able to tune in and watch the show.
So that's the benefit, I guess. Like I said, we're able to connect with people in different parts of the world.
In different parts of the world.
That's so awesome. All right, Berita, thank you so much for joining me here on the She Social podcast. I mean, you've had a beautiful journey with your music, and we just wanted to kind of tap in just to see how you're doing at the moment. Of course, we're definitely going to bring you back once new music drops, more music videos also drop as well. And of course, like I said, when that initiative does come through to support Zimbabwe, we'll be behind you 110%. I hope you are staying safe during these COVID times. Even though that our recovery rate is improving, we still need to keep safe. So I hope you're doing that as well. And maybe you must make some Berita masks, so that we can.
Actually, definitely. I mean, people have been asking me for dukes because I wear them all the time. So that's on the way as well. But something that's coming very soon is my follow-up single. It's called Siyathandana. It features Amanda Black, and I can't wait for you guys to hear the song. It's in the album, so you can actually stream and download it now from Songs in the Key of Love. But the video that we shot for you guys, we can't wait for you guys to see that. It's coming on the 4th of September.
There's nothing better than two vocalists coming together and just expressing themselves via the music. And I'm so happy that women constantly work with each other so that we can pull away from this idea that women can't be in the same room together and they can't work together. So it's very beautiful that you've got a collabo with Amanda Black, and we're definitely going to check it out as well.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Berita. Like I said, stay safe, and we'll be supporting you 100%. Where can people follow you on social media so that we can keep abreast as to what you're busy with?
Yes, so I'm at Berita Afrosoul on Twitter, at Berita Afrosoul on Instagram, at Berita Afrosoul on Facebook, Berita Afrosoul on YouTube.
Yes, hopefully we can see a tutorial YouTube video from you so you can show us how to tie the doek, because I can tell you right now, I don't know how to do it. I have so many doeks, but they're all sitting in my cupboard because I'm just like, this is not my thing.
I don't know what to do. I'll show you. Don't worry. I'll show you.
Thank you so much. Be blessed, baby girl.
All right. Thank you, girl. Mwah.
Yes. And there you have it. Those were my 2 interviews for today. Spoken Priestess, a beautiful journey that she's spoken about, and of course, still so passionate about the game. And Berita coming through with her vibes and just letting us know how wholesome she is and how she's still in support of her hometown. And I think there's a very big story that's still happening in Zimbabwe, and we need to get behind it 100%. All right, so thank you so much for joining me here on the She Social podcast. Please join me again next week, Wednesday, here on my YouTube page. Keep on liking, keep on subscribing, keep on commenting, and let me know who else's voices you want to hear from here on the She Social podcast.